Good morning. Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to Gentle Yoga. We'll be started in a seated position today. Sorry, my voice might be a little scratchy, but I've got tea, so hopefully it won't be too much of an issue. So just go ahead and take your time, come to a seated position. And just ground down through those sit bones. Just feel that connection to the mat, to the earth. It's from that foundation just rising up. Letting those shoulders fall away from the ears. Gently close the eyes. Hands are on your knees, just softly relaxing. And once you're ready, taking that breath inward, expanding the belly. Expand the lungs, the chest. Inhaling all the way through the top of the head, up to the crown, and then exhale. Top of the head, empty the lungs, empty the belly. Take a hand to the chest and one to the belly if you'd like to feel the breath as it expands the rib cage, expands the lungs and the chest. And emptying the lungs and the chest, drawing that navel in, empty the belly. Just follow those waves of breath. Challenging every little space, every little tiny corner of the inside of your belly and your lungs to just fill a little bit further. Letting that breath just bring you down into the present moment. It'll leave you with a sense of calm. Just feeling a little bit more grounded, more relaxed presence with every exhalation. Inhalation, pressing that navel forward, imagining those ribs just floating apart, expanding, the whole rib cage just opening up, the lungs expanding, emptying that chest all the way, and then drawing that navel in. And just get a few more rounds of that breath. On the next inhalation, you slowly open the eyes, blink a few times, and lengthening to that crown, still like a nice long spine. Let your shoulders just release away from the ears. And then from here, we're just going to reach those arms up. Really waking up those arms all the way to the fingertips. I'm just taking a gentle twist here. Left hand comes down to that right knee, right hand comes down behind. We're lifting up through the sternum, to the crown of the head, and taking that gaze towards the back of the room. Lengthening on the inhalation, twisting on the exhalation. Just a few more breaths here. Just waking up that spine. And release, unwind. I'm going to reach up through that right hand, just reaching up. I'll just take a quick side stretch here. So lifting the sternum and reach over. And release. And we're going to inhale up. Reach up through that left hand. Keep that right hand on the knee. Just open up and then reach over to the right. And release. And then we're going to breath those hands up again. Just almost those pinkies behind the ears are reaching up, reaching up. And then coming to a twist on the other side. Hand down to the knee, left hand behind. Lift the sternum to the crown. Gaze towards the back of the room. Inhale, lengthening. Create spacing between those vertebrae. And the exhalation, twisting. And release, slowly unwind. Inhale, lengthen, and we're going to exhale and come forward and just bring our hands right in front of our shins. And then you can stay here if this is enough of a stretch. You're on your hip flexors on your hips, or just walk those hands forward. Lengthen through the back of that neck. That nose comes down towards the floor. Soften through those hips. Soften through the face. Let that tongue be loose in the mouth. Walk those hands over to the right. Reaching through those left fingertips as we pull back to that left hip. Creating space in this left hip area. And back to center. Maybe curl those fingers just a little bit further. Softening through those hips. And then walk those hands over to the left. Reaching through those right fingertips. Pulling that back all the way through the right hip. And back to center. Walk those hands back up. From here, inhale up those arms, come to a V. Reaching and exhale, pull those elbows down, stretching the front of those shoulders. Inhale up. Bring those hands softly to the back of the head, and we'll just guide that chin in towards that chest, lengthen to the back of the neck. No pulling or cranking, just gentle lengthening. And hands are just kind of resting. And release from that right arm across the body. We're just going to guide that across the front of the body. You can hook that with the left arm. Just inhaling, lifting, taking a nice long spine. And release, just switch arms. Guiding, feeling that openness in the shoulder. And then softly release. Your hands to our knees. And we're going to inhale, lengthen, bring that right ear down to that right shoulder. You can reach out to that those left fingers. Soften to that left side of the neck. And release. Inhale, lengthen to the crown of the head, and then exhale. Left ear comes down to that left shoulder. Reach out to those right fingertips. Just softening our gaze just past our nose. Breathing nice deep breaths into the belly. Just trying to maintain that connection to the breath. And release. Bring those hands to the knees. And bring that chin in towards the chest. And then bring that right ear towards that right shoulder. And start to take some circles. Make some circles with the nose or take some shoulders. Stretches, really gentle. Taking your awareness to your neck, every muscle that's softening and lengthening as you draw those circles in the air with your nose. Slowly, carefully, avoiding any discomfort. And switch directions. It's feeling that softening from the neck to the tops of the shoulders. And switch directions. We'll take a few circles in the other direction. Just slowly. Maybe a little quicker, just your own pace. And then switching one more time. Just taking a few. 2 more circles before we just make those circles a little smaller. And coming back to a neutral position. Reach out and up. Just drop that right hand, grab that right elbow. And lengthening from that right hip up through that elbow. And release, reach up. Drop the other hand, and we're just lifting up to that left elbow. And release. Arms out. Just give ourselves a hug and pull those shoulders down. Lengthen to the back of the neck. And release. Reach out. Other arm comes on top, and then we'll pull down. Just gently tuck the chin. And release. From here, slowly come to a tabletop. Put down some extra cushioning, blanket, or anything you like today. Spread out those fingers. Just that those wrists are underneath the shoulders, pressing down into the tops of those feet. Knees are underneath the hips. Just taking a few breaths here, just feeling that foundation. And we're gonna tuck those toes, really pulling up that navel up into the towards the spine. We're just gonna lift just for a breath or two, just gonna feel your whole body wake up and release. Back, inhale into that cat pose, exaggerating that movement, pulling those shoulders back. And go ahead and exhale to that cat, tucking that tailbone, bring that chin into the chest. Inhale, back to cow. Exhale, cat, rounding the shoulders, pulling up that navel towards the spine, towards the ceiling. And then continue to take those cat and cows with your own breath. You can break out of that mold here and kind of move any way that feels good. Maybe taking that gaze over those shoulders, feel that opening to the side of the body, feeling those ribs flow apart. And back to center. And press to that right heel and just soften that calf. And then taking an awareness of that inner right thigh, lift, move off those hips, pull up through that navel, and then staying here, adding that arm, challenging our whole core, strengthening all those muscles. And release. From here, just bring those hands a little bit forward. We're going to sink those hips back. Just a little bit reaching. Maybe take that forehead down all the way to the mat. So you can kind of roll it from side to side if that feels good. And giving the forehead a massage. Gently come back up. Just flip that left hand over. Really gentle pressure to the top of that left hand. And rolling that wrist out. Press down, and then pressing to the top of that right hand. Really gentle, not much weight for pressure. And taking that wrist, just roll that both directions. Back to neutral position, then we'll press back through that left heel, soften through that calf. And then lifting to that hamstring, checking that those hips are level. And stay here, add that right arm for that full bird dog pose. Draw that navel in. Pressing through that heel, reaching to those toes. And release. Bring those knees wide. Bring those toes together. We're going to sink those hips back and just reach forward. Let everything sink into the mat for a few breaths. Let everything go. One more breath here, just letting everything soften and sink into the mat. And then I'm going to slowly, gently come up. And we're just going to kind of take some circles with our whole body and torso, just kind of clockwise directions, kind of, so no one can see you. You're at home alone, doesn't matter. matter how it looks, it can, you just want to feel that stretch all through the body and then switch directions. Nice stretch to the hips, to the hip flexors, to the wrists. And come back to a neutral position, keeping those knees wide. I'm going to reach up to that right arm, to that right elbow, through the fingertips, and then just thread that underneath, bring that shoulder down, let that soften into the mat. Breathe into the belly. Let that shoulder soften, just release into the mat. Every muscle in the shoulder just releases, lengthens. And go ahead and bend that left arm, press up. Press down through that right palm. We're going to reach up to that elbow through the fingertips, and then go and thread the needle. Bring that left shoulder down to the mat. And reach forward and let that shoulder melt. Breathe into the belly. Let those muscles in the shoulder just release into the mat. And bend that right arm. We're going to come up, move those knees to right underneath the hips. And then reach forward for puppy pose. Those hips are above the knees. Press that forward into the mat. Reaching through those palms. Crawl those forward. Come up on the fingertips for a deeper stretch. And softly release. Just lengthen that body. We're going to reach really long stretch from the fingertips to the toes. And slowly moving those shoulders to underneath, your hands underneath the shoulders, the palms. Pressing everything into the mat, tops of the feet, the hip points, the palms. And then from here, using all those muscles in your back to just peel up that chest, really engaging those glutes to protect your lower back. If there's any pain, just skipping this. For the inhalation, maybe just coming up a little more. Strengthening everything in the back to make sure we're even with all the work we do in our core. One more breath. And release. Slide those hands underneath the face. Bring that cheek down to the top of the hands. Bend those knees and you're going to wash those feet. Feel that stretch in the back and loosening at the back. Massage on those quads. It's fast or slow. Just rocking on your feet, legs back and forth. And then drop those legs for snakes pose. Bring those arms out in front and then finding that spot. Gentler modification for that low back. Always skipping if you feel any pinching, any pain. Or moving those elbows underneath those shoulders. We're pressing down everything once again to the mat and then rising up. Engaging to the tops of the legs. Engaging those glutes. Forearms, palms. One more easy breath here. And release. Slide those hands underneath the face. We'll bring that left cheek down to on top of the hands. bend those knees and then watch those feet again. Just I'm going to take an exaggerated kind of motion here to really feel that stretch to the sides of the hips, to the low back. And then from here, reaching back with that left hand, we grab the shin or the foot, pressing that foot into the hand, and just softening and lengthening that in that quadricep into the mat. Breathe into that belly. And release. Switch legs. Just grabbing the top of that foot, pressing that foot into the hand. Lengthen that quadricep. Press that into the mat. Nice long stretch. Really engaging the glute and the hamstring here. And then release. Take those legs wide, bring those hands underneath the shoulder. You're press up and come through tabletop. And then from that tabletop, I'm going to bring those hands forward, spread out those fingers, tuck those toes, and then straightening those legs, coming to downward facing dog. Start to alternate those heels, walk the dog, soften through the backs of the legs. You can even take those feet kind of closer to the edge of the mat if that feels good today. Just being mindful of those wrists, spreading out those fingers. Nice long spine from the tailbone to the top of the head. Work those feet back into a hip width distance and then walk those up to the hands. Your hip width apart, we're pressing through all four corners of the feet. Strong through the legs. Pulling that navel into the spine. And then grabbing those opposite elbows, just let that top part of the body just soften and hang. It's pulling you into that stretch. Those knees maybe a little bit bent. Strong through those legs, soften through the neck. Sway, opening through the hips. And still mindful of that connection of the feet to the mat. And release those hands down. Inhale, just take a half lift gaze forward. Exhale, forward fold. Bend those knees if you need to. Grab those big toes with the peace fingers and the thumb. And we'll pull those elbows out to the side. Pull the knees towards the knees. Let that blood flow towards the heart. Lengthening through the hamstring, to the calf muscle, strong for those quads. Pull that navel in. See if those elbows can be pulled a little bit wider. And release. You're trying to spread out those toes, really gripping that mat with the toes. And inhale, slide those hands up the shins, gaze forward. And now exhale, bring those hands down, bend those knees, and just step that left foot back. Coming to that lunge, Front leg is like 90 degrees. We're lifting to that back hamstring. Starting to build more heat in that body. And then softly bring that knee down. Always put something under that knee for extra cushioning. And from here, planting that hand, right by the hand or just a little bit out to the side. Depending on what kind of opening you want in the chest here. So inhale up, reach. If you want like a bigger opening in the chest, you can move that hand over to the left. Or just keep that kind of by the hands. We're exhaling back down. And really engaging that core, drawing that navel in, we're gonna reach up. The hands are really engaging that core, really pressing down from the tops of the foot to the right foot, to all the corners to keep your balance. And then bring those hands to the hips. Reach up for that left arm and we'll just reach over, pulling that femur back into that socket or opening it up to that left side of the hip. And release. Bring those hands to the top of the knee. And just soften those hips forward. And then from here, slowly straighten that front leg. Just adjust to come into that half split, to the runner stretch. And those hands down. And those toes are up towards the ceiling. Soften the back of that right leg. Keeping that hip overneath, keeping that hip over the knee. Lengthening, kind of pulling that heart towards the foot. I'm just taking a few more easy breaths here. Noticing if you're holding any tension in your face. Release the jaw or the cheeks. Most of your breathing is kind of wandered off and coming back to those deep, even breaths into the belly. And release. Let those hips fall forward. Soften just a little more. Bring that right hand to the inside. Right foot heel to that foot over. And staying here for lizard, or you've got the option of walking those hands out towards the left. This for a deeper stretch. Just an option right here is fine, as really should be enough of a stretch for your hip flexor, the lizard. And heel to that foot back into center. From here, we're going to tuck those back toes. And straighten both those legs. And then come right into that pyramid pose. So you've got your feet hip width apart. Pressing through those feet. Sucking those kneecaps up. Nose is coming towards the shin. Lengthening through the back of that neck. So we're doing a lot of work here. And gently release. We slowly come up. And bringing that head up last. And then we're going to line up our feet just for warrior two. So just bring that heel in front of the arch of the back foot. Really, really small movement. We're going to inhale up those arms and then just track that right knee over that right foot. So just spin that. Maybe comes all the way to a 90-degree angle here. Making sure that knee stays over the ankle, doesn't come in front of it. Reaching through those fingertips. So building strength in those legs. Letting that breath carry you through that pose. And then just reaching back and reaching over. And release. Straighten those legs, bring those toes to the side of the mat. Hands to the hips. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, just forward fold. Those hands down, we're pressing to the sides of the feet. The heel to those feet in closer or further apart. Find the right stance, distance for you. You can grab those ankles, pull that nose closer to the floor. Bring your left hand underneath your face. We're going to just gentle twist up towards the ceiling. Exhale down. Replace that right hand with that left hand, or left hand with that right hand. Inhale up, gentle twist. Still re-engaging all of those muscles in the legs, sucking up those kneecaps. And you stay here, or if you just want to take a gentle kind of bend to that right knee. I'm gonna take a deeper stretch to that left leg. Go ahead and switch legs. Just walk the hands over, and then walking them over again just a couple times. So really could be quite a gentle, subtle movement. Maybe just barely bending that knee, or maybe taking a deeper stretch. Just a few more times. And then coming back out. And then from here, we're going to walk those hands over towards the back of the mat, and then we're going to come into that lunge with that left foot forward this time. So we're really lifting onto that hamstring, that right hamstring, pressing to that left foot. Softly bring that knee down, pressing that right hand into the mat. Inhale, take a gentle twist up. And coming down. Engage that core strength. Coming up. Reach up. And release. Bring those hands down to the hips. Reach up through that right arm and then take that side twist. On that navel in, pressing down to the top of that right foot. And release. Bring those hands to the top of that left knee. Sucking that whole finger back into that socket. And then slowly straightening that front leg. Suggesting to come into that runner stretch. Hip is over that knee. And just coming forward from those fingertips or palms down to the mat. Toes up to the ceiling. Really not hard towards the foot. Really engaging that quad. And lengthening, feeling that lengthen and softening to the back of that left foot. And then slowly release. Let those hips come forward. Hand comes to the inside of the foot. Heel toe that out. We're softening to that lizard. Feeling extra flexible in that area, you can walk these hands out to the right. And take like a downward dog type motion and bowing down. Breathing into that hip, softening. And heel toe that foot back into center. We're tucking those back toes. And then working into that pyramid pose, just finding that distance. Feet hip width apart, pressing to those feet. Engaging those quads, sucking up those kneecaps, splitting that mat apart, drawing that navel in. And then awareness to that breath. And release. Come up and then just move that foot so that that arch is right behind that heel. Move into warrior two, just bending that front knee. Reaching to those arms to the fingertips. Strong through those legs and through that core. And reaching down and over. And gently release. We're going to just come right back down into that lunge. Softly bring that back knee down. Come up. Engaging that core. Pressing into the tops of those feet, taking those thumbs to the top of that back, and then really engaging those hamstrings and glutes. We're just going to open up that chest. And really, you could just be staying here. If it feels okay in your lower back, maybe just opening a little bit, taking that gaze up. It's really mindful here. Should be no discomfort here. So really engaging those glutes, the hips will really protect that area. And release. We'll just come down to a seated position. Swing those legs around. Move those legs out in front. Press down through those palms. And reaching up. Inhale. Exhale. Fold forward of those hips. Grab the shins, ankles, the feet, and pull that nose down towards the knees. Suck up those kneecaps, draw that navel in, bring that nose just a tiny bit closer to the shins. Taking that awareness to the breath, letting that help you just deepen and release into that stretch. And release, gently release. We'll bring the soles of the feet together for Baddha Konasana. So maybe your feet are here, maybe just a little bit further away from your body. Just find the right spot for you. And then grab those feet. Grab those feet and you give massage those arches. Tall breath, lift to the heart. And exhale, bring that nose down to the floor. Just making sure you're not kind of hunching over a nice longish spine. Doesn't have to be straight. We're pressing down. Even taking those elbows, maybe pressing those knees away. And feel that stretch through those hip flexors. And watching the breath, just coming back to the breath once you're settled into that stretch. And release, straighten that right leg, bring that left foot in. And turn towards that straightened leg and slide those legs down, bring that nose down towards the shin. Pressing through that heel, pressing down to this knee. Suck up the kneecap and then release, breathe. Breathe into those tight areas and just soften. On the exhalation, letting that breath just help you deepen your stretch. And soften the muscles in your face. Sometimes we just start to hold tension in our face without even realizing it. Gently come up and switch legs. And turn towards that lengthened leg. Slide those legs down, pressing to that heel. Pressing down to the back of that knee. Suck up that kneecap and then awareness to the breath. So just soften into those tight areas. And release, come up, we'll straighten that right leg. You can press those hips forward for a deeper stretch. Bring those hands in front and just walk those forward. That nose down towards the forward, lengthening to the back of the neck. Just gently bring that chin in. Maybe spider claw those fingers just a little bit further forward. Active through those legs. Press down to the backs of the knees. And gently release, walk those hands up back into the body. We're going to roll to our back, so if you want to put down something, if you're going to get your towel or something, go ahead. If you'd like some extra cushion today, just grab the backs of those hamstrings and roll back. Grab the tops of the knee and just soften from side to side. I'm going to take those arms up to a T and just drop those knees to the right side of the body. Try to keep those shoulders on the mat. So it's kind of adjusting to what works best for you, letting you kind of release into that stretch. You can always move those hips back a little bit closer to the center of the mat if that helps. Soften into that stretch. Soften your gaze to the ceiling or to the opposite direction. Just really letting everything release for this kind of more passive stretch. And bring those knees back to center. Just drop those down to the other side. Adjusting when you get there so you can release into that hip twist. Nice, long, even breaths. And pull those knees back into center. And just press, hug it or grab the front of the knees. We're going to put down that left foot, bring that ankle to that left knee, and then press that knee away from the body, gently tucking that tailbone. Staying here, grab the back of that left hamstring, deeper stretch. In that figure four, keeping both of those feet flexed. And release, switch legs. Checking that tailbone, press that low back into the mat. Or grabbing the back of that right hamstring, flexing both feet, soften to that hip. And release. We're gonna lengthen those legs into your post for Shavasana. Open up those hands to the ceiling. And then adjust those shoulders so they can sink down to the mat. Just maybe putting a blanket over you or sweater on, just finding your spot. And once you're there, you're going to take a big breath into that belly, release, close the eyes, and just sink down into the mat. Let everything go. Start to follow that breath. Breathing in relaxation. And that inhalation. And the exhalation, just releasing every muscle. Letting everything sink and soften into the mat. Soften the muscles in your face. The muscles around your eyes, release. Your cheeks and your jaw, soften. Let your tongue be loose in your mouth. And the next exhalation, let those shoulders melt down into the mat. And every muscle just releases, softens. Biceps, triceps, forearms, hands, fingers all melt and soften and widen. All the muscles in your back release all the way down to your low back, your hips, your glutes, hamstrings all soften and widen and melt. Quads feel heavy, like they're sliding off either side of the femur. Soften through the back of the knees. Those calves start to release and melt. The ankles, the feet, the toes, everything releases. Just continue to follow that breath. Inhaling, relaxation on the exhalation, just releasing a little bit more into the mat and into the pose. Just letting everything surrender. And slowly start to bring your awareness back to your body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Rock your head from side to side. And bend your knees. Roll over onto the right side of your body. And slowly press yourself up to a seated position. Bring your hands to heart center, and on the next inhalation, gently open your eyes and blink a few times. Namaste. Well, thanks. Thank you, everyone, for joining me this morning. I hope you have a great weekend and that all your holiday preparations are going well. And hope to see you on Monday, and just be in touch if you have requests, comments, questions, or anything. Love to hear from you, and see you on Monday.